So this is the reteach and retest for the rational number operations. Basically, it's just a reteach. You'll have the retest on Schoology. So this is the test you just took last week. So what you're gonna do is, we're gonna do a different approach because we saw that the issue was that some of you didn't know if you had to multiply or divide when you read the problem. So that's something that we're gonna address in this video, and your test is gonna be similar to this video too. So hopefully you get some input and we go ahead and work with that. And if you have any questions before you start on your retest, then that's something that you need to do right now. So make sure you do that after you watch the video. You could send us a Google Hangout, you could send us an email, or you could go ahead and let us know if you're in person. Okay, so we're going to start off with whole numbers. So when we start off with whole numbers, sometimes it's easy for us to tell what this is. So here is what the question reads. Sabrina is going to bake cookies. This recipe calls for 2 cups of sugar. Sabrina needs to make 3 recipes because she has a large cookie-loving family. How many cups of sugar does she need? So what is the operation? Is it going to be multiplication or is it division? So I'm thinking because she needs 2 cups. So if I draw this out, so I'm going to do cookies. So recipes. So these are the recipes. I'm going to go ahead and do that. That's 1, 2, 3. We need 3 recipes for each, right? So each one requires 2 cups of sugar. Okay, so this is the sugar. So because it requires 2 cups of sugar each recipe, so remember this is your recipe, then what are we doing? What are we doing here? Are we multiplying or dividing? In this case, because you're adding, it's a repeating addition, that means it's multiplication. So all you're doing is going to multiply 2 times 3. So that means I'm going to need 6 cups of sugar. So it helps when you draw pictures. So make sure you're drawing pictures when you're working out your problems. So here we have the same question. We know that the first question we had to multiply. So that means that my operation is still going to be multiplication. So if we know it's multiplication, then it's easier for us to determine what the answer is. So here it says Sabrina is going to bake cookies. The recipe calls for 1½ cups or 1 5/10 cups of sugar. Sabrina needs to make 2 7/75 recipes because she has a large cookie-loving family. That's hard to say. How many cups of sugar did she need? So again, we're just multiplying. So I'm going to multiply 2 7/75 times 1 5/10. Now, when you're multiplying, you really don't need to line up the decimals. You can, but I don't want you adding more zeros or anything like that, so you don't really have to line them up. So I'm going to go ahead and start counting the decimal places. So that's 2, that's 1. So that means I'm going to need 3 decimal places in my product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and multiply. So you multiply like you regularly do. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is 37. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. So now I add a 0 because I already did the 5, so now I'm doing the 1. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. Then I'm adding this, so 5 plus 0 is 5, 7 plus 5 is 12, carry the 1, 3 plus 7 is 10, plus 1 is 11, carry the 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So what did I say about how many place values? I know I need 3, so I'm starting from the back. You always start from the back to count the place values. 1, 2, 3. So that means they're going to need 4 and 125,000 cups of sugar. And that's how you determine it. So all you have to do is count those place values. You multiply it regularly, and all you do is count how many place values are in our factors, which are this, and then you put it in your product. Okay, so now we're going to deal with fractions. And again, remember, this is going to be multiplication because we already did it with whole numbers. We did it with decimals. Now we're using it as multiplication. So here's the question again. Sabrina is going to bake cookies. The recipe calls for 1 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Sabrina needs to make 2 3/5 recipes because she has a large cookie-loving family. How many cups of sugar does she need? So we're going to go ahead and multiply. So I'm going to go ahead and put them side by side. So 1 1/3 times 2 3/5. So remember, you have to convert our mixed numbers to improper fraction. We have to. So I'm going to go ahead and do multiply 3 times 1. So that's going to give you 3. And then add 1. So that's going to give you 4. And it's going to be over 3. So 4 over 3 times, again, you're going to go ahead and multiply the 5 times 2, which is 10. And then you add in the 3, which is 13. And that's going to be 13 over 5. And then all you have to do is multiply. So 4 times 13, so I'm going to go ahead and do it over here on the side. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So that's 52. And then 3 times 5, I know it's 15. Well, we ended up with an improper fraction, so that means I need to change it to a mixed number. So the way I do that is I go ahead and do top in, bottom out, and then we divide. So 15 into 52, well, I know it's not 4 because 4 times 15 is 60. So I know it's 3. So I'm going to do times 3. So 15 times 3 is 45. Then 2 minus 5, can't do that, so I'm going to go ahead and regroup. 12 minus 5 is 7. So this is your new numerator. This stays as the denominator, and this is your whole number. So this becomes 3 7/15 cup of sugar. So all we had to do is multiply. So basically we worked the same problem out, but with a whole number, then decimals, then fractions. So then that becomes your answer, and you're done with this problem. So let's try another question. Again, we're doing the same thing. We're starting with whole numbers and then switching it off. But we're doing this because we want to make sure you know if it's multiplication or division. So each batch of cupcake mix requires 4 cups of milk. According to the recipe, the batch can make 12 large cupcakes. If Emma makes a batch of large cupcakes, how much milk is used for each cupcake? Ooh, so let's see. So I'm going to draw a picture. So we have 4 cups. And this makes 12. So out of this, 12 of them, there's going to be 12 cupcakes. So am I multiplying or am I dividing? This one's a hard one. So let's think about it. So because we want to know how much of this goes into that, you're basically going to see how many times does 12 go into 4. Because you're trying to see how much goes into that. And it's not going to be all of this go into all that. It's going to be part of this is going to go into there. So if you think about it, you have 4 cups. I'm going to redraw it again. You want to see how many each has. So I'm going to go ahead and think about it. So maybe if I think about it, I could cut these up and see how many are going. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write it out. So 4 divided by 12. So this is going to be a decimal because it's not going to be a whole cup in there. It's going to be part of the cup. So let's go ahead and divide that. I'm going to add my decimal because I know that 12 into 4 is 0 times. So that's 0. Remainder is 4. Add your 0, bring it down. 12 into 40 is 2 times. No, 3 times. Oops, sorry. 12 into 40 is 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36. Remainder is 4. 12 into 40 is 3 times again, because I'm bringing the 0 down. So what do you notice about this? It's going to be a repeating decimal, right? And you keep going and going, so it's going to be a repeating decimal. So in this case, it didn't end up to be a whole number, but it still was an answer. So when you write a decimal that's repeating, you need to write it as, I'm going to change colors, 0, and because the 3 is the only one repeating, I'm putting one of the 3's and putting a bar notation on top. So this is going to be 0 and 3/10 repeating. So it's still whole numbers. We ended up with a decimal, but we still had the whole number there. So, and that told us that this problem is division. And if you notice, I divided this part by that. So that way, when we do the decimal and the fraction, you'll find out, you know that the 4 is going to be divided by 12. So again, here's the question, the same question, but remember we're doing this divided by that. So each batch of cupcakes mix requires 2 8/10 of a cup of milk. According to the recipe, the batch can make an 8 5/10 large cupcakes. If Emma makes a batch of large cupcakes, how much milk is used for each cupcake? So, how many of you have ever made a half of a cupcake? I know I have, because the batter is not enough to make the other one, because I put too much on the other ones, and that's why I have a little bit of batter left, and it makes a little cupcake. So just to let you know. So 8 1/2 or 8 5/10 is going to go into 2 8/10. So we're going to go ahead and kick the ball to the wall. So I'm moving this over. So that means I'm also moving this over, bringing it up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see how many times does 85 go into 28. It doesn't. It's 0 times. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put 85 into 280. 85 into 280, how many times it's going to go in. So I'm going to go ahead and add 85 twice to see if it actually is close enough or not. So 5 plus 5 is 10. 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. Let's see if another 85 fits. 5. 7 plus 15, 1, that's 255. If I have another 85, that's 10. That's 13, 14, 340. So that's a no-no. So this one went over. So I know this is the closest one. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. So 85 times 3 is going to be 255. I'm going to go ahead and regroup in order to subtract. That's 7. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. Add a 0, bring it down. So 250, ooh, that's not going to happen. So it's going to be 2 times. So 2 times. So that's going to be 170. Remainder is regroup. 50 minus 7 is 8. Well, that's going to be 1. Okay, so then I add another 0. So I'm going to just do to the third one, and that's going to be my answer. So 340. So times 2, that's going to give you 680. So 680 plus 85, that's 5, 16, 765. I think that would be the closest one. So if it's times 2, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 8, so that's 9. So 9 times, that's on 765. So I'm going to regroup. So 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 6 is 3, and 7 minus 7 is 0. So that's going to be my answer. So here my answer is going to be 329,000 cup of milk. And that's my answer for this one. Now the last one, same thing. We're going to divide. We're dividing this by this. So I'm going to do 2 and 5/8 divided by 10 and 1/2. So again, we're going to go ahead and do our changing our mixed number to improper fraction. So that's going to be 16 plus 5. That's going to be 21/8. Then divided by 2 times 10 is 20 plus 1. That's going to give us 21/2. Oh, that's crazy. Okay. So then I do keep, change, flip, or keep, flip, change, same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm keeping the 21/8. I'm flipping the 21/2 to 221, and I'm changing the division to multiplication. Now, I don't know if they told you, but when you look at your numbers and they're across, you could actually, and it's the same number, you could actually simplify it, and all you have to do is get rid of that. But you don't have to do that. So I'm going to show you both ways. So this way, and I'm going to move this a little bit. This way, you're going to go ahead and do 21 times 2 is 42. 21 times 8, so I'm going to put it up here. 21 times 8, 8 times 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, so 168. Now I have to simplify it. So 42, 168 divided by 2. That's going to give me 21. And 168 divided by 2 is going to give you 84. So I'm going to do it again, divided by, well, this case, I think I can divide it by 7. So I'm going to erase this a little bit. So 7. And this is going to be 21 divided by 7 is 3. And 84 divided by 7 is 12. Oh, I could still simplify, so I'm going to do 3/12 equals, no, divided by 3. That's going to be 1/4. Wow, all that work. And we have 1/4. So my answer is going to be 1/4 cup. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try it by simplifying this part. So I'm going to move it up again. So I'm going to write it. Let's use red. So 21/8 times 2/21. So because we have the same number across, so you have 21 here and 21 here, I could cross it out and put a 1, cross it out, put a 1. So I simplified it right there. Now all I have to do is 1 times 2 is 2. 8 times 1 is 8. So now I have 2/8. I could divide that by 2. And that gives you 1/4. Simpler. So whenever you see your denominator and numerator that are diagonal being the same number, all you have to do is make it into ones and then multiply. So now we did it 3 different ways, the same problem, 3 different ways. So we were able to solve all of it, and we did it. So all I want you to do is from now on is when you have a problem that has fractions or decimals, determine if you're going to multiply or divide. It could work for add and subtract by removing the numbers and making them into whole numbers. So I would suggest you round them. So if you round them, that helps too. So like if you notice, we have 2 and 5/8. Well, 2 and 5/8 could round to 3. And then you have 10 and a half will round to 11. So if it's division, it's going to be a little bit off, but at least you know that 3 will be divided by 11. But if you estimate before and you're able to do it, then go ahead and do it. If I did that instead of 10 and a half, I put it as 12, wouldn't that simplify to 1/4? And isn't that what we got? So think about how the numbers are compatible and try to change them into whole numbers. See if it's multiplication and division, and then do the math with the estimation by rounding them, and then see if any numbers come close on your answers. And if not, all you have to do is make sure that you are looking at your answers and make sure that they're reasonable too. So do your work, go take your test. Good luck on your test. Hopefully this helped out, and hopefully you can bring your grade up for your test.